I mean... They've done gone off the rails this time. I mean, how is this series so popular? This movie broke me, guys. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to yet another brand new movie review. As always, I'd like to thank you all so much for stopping by. Sincerely, I really do hope you enjoy your stay, because we're taking the lead, guys. We're looking at F9. God, why the f did they have to name this off of something you find on a keyboard? But yeah, of course, this is the 9th movie in the big Fast and Furious franchise. Everybody's back. Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez. He also had to bring in John Cena because, as we all know, Vin Diesel needs his wrestler. And I guess John Cena was the one available for this? I mean, obviously The Rock has since figured out what a good script looks like, joking aside. But here, Dom Toretto is living the quiet life off the grid with Letty and his son, but they know that danger always lurks just over the peaceful horizon. And this time, that threat forces Dom to confront the sins of his past to save those he loves the most. And his crew soon comes together once again to stop a world-shattering plot by the most skilled assassin and high-performance driver they've ever encountered. He also happens to be Dom's forsaken brother, played by John Cena. So, like... oh my word, where do I even begin? Let me just make one thing perfectly clear from the get-go. I do not hate the Fast and Furious movies whatsoever. Come on, would I own these if I hated them? And all those movies are really, really fun to sit down with a big group of your friends with a big tub of popcorn with as big of a screen possible with as great of a sound system as you can. And they're just fun to watch. You know, you got big explosions, crazy ass stunts all over the place. And all logic seems to be thrown out the window every single time. Fast 5 is for sure the best one of the franchise, and that's not just bias on my part because The Rock is in it. It might be bias. But even if you take The Rock as Luke Hobbs out of the equation, Fast 5, I do believe firmly is where that story really starts to pick up and really get interesting. And let's be honest, F9 still has all those elements you would come to expect out of a Fast movie at this point. You have all the corny one-liners from the character of Roman. You have Dom stoically talking about the importance of family. I mean, you got crazy stunts, cars flying left and right. It's absolute chaos. And let me tell you, everybody else in my theater freaking had a blast with this. Now, I for one as a critic have to be that guy and take off the rose-colored glasses and kind of look at this subjectively, but I do think that there were elements of Fast 9 that were at least enjoyable. For example, I really have to commend the production team for all the work they put into this, just in terms of the stunts and the effects, whether or not that CGI is convincing. There's clearly a lot of love and passion that's put into these projects, oddly enough. Now, I noticed that in the action, they really loves to play around with the concept of magnetism. I'm not gonna lie, that was actually a really cool element of this. And I will say, the movie is shot extremely well. All of this camera work is so incredibly clean, which is kind of ironic considering how chaotic this film gets. Justin Lin returned to direct this one after taking a break from the franchise after Fast 6, and he does a really great job helming most of these action sequences. I will admit, I did notice that the movie tended to rely on extreme close-ups in terms of the editing. That's just something you kind of have to grow used to after a while with this. And I feel like the hardcore fans of the Fast franchise really certainly got a kick out of this, but I especially appreciated how much backstory they gave Dom in this. The whole opening sequence takes place on a racetrack. It is absolutely chilling and just gut-wrenching. I dare not spoil the contents of it, but let's just say that the sound design mingles together with Lin's direction so incredibly well here. For the most part, in the acting department, everyone is relatively solid. They're doing some good work here. But, again, this is gonna sound like a huge biased comment from me as a wrestling fan. The standout for me, John Cena. It's truly remarkable how John Cena is able to pull off any big performance in a big blockbuster like this. We can barely see him. Terrible reference aside, I'll admit, this is a damn good performance. Cena is an utter dynamo. He brings so much energy, passion, and fire to every frame he takes up. And given his experience in the pro wrestling world, he is bound to be great in these action sequences. And truth be told, he is. Would not be surprised if he did all of his own stunts. And this goes out to all of my fellow wrestling fans who have really been begging Vince McMahon to turn John Cena heel for as long as they have. This turn from Cena would be sure to satisfy those people. But this all starts to lead into my many issues regarding Fast 9. While I'm on the subject of John Cena, I was honestly a little bit disappointed in a lot of his hand-to-hand combat scenes. They're fine, but I think they could have done a lot more given the talent that they had. Especially in the big final showdown with Vin Diesel himself, which... it was pretty weak, because it was actually really short. Like, it didn't really feel like the proper end to this feud that was going on pretty much their entire life. I felt more stakes and emotion when Cena was just staring a hole through this guy. Like, they should want to kick each other's ass all the time. But yet they just get, like, one little sequence of, like, 2 minutes of fighting. I was like, what the f***? And that's another thing. Before I forget, I wasn't really the biggest fan of Vin Diesel's performance in this, especially after all the news surfaced about why his feud with The Rock even came about. And after watching Vin Diesel's performance in F9, I'm totally on The Rock's side with this. And I hate to say it, but Diesel kind of comes off like a total hypocrite here. He plays himself, basically. Sure, you also have some character evolution written in there, and he can be badass in the fight scenes, but like, God, I know how difficult the actor's job is. I am one. But man, I never really felt like there was a lot on the line with this. Diesel really didn't convince me of that. And this all leads me into my biggest issue with F9. Guys, this script is all over the fucking place. Literally and figuratively. Now, usually when I walk into a theater to see a fast movie, I know what I'm gonna expect. I can usually turn my brain off right there, just expect to see some big explosions, laugh at a lot of the jokes, and on the surface level, I can still vaguely follow the story that's going on. F9, on the other hand, completely lost me at some point. And I think the reason why is twofold. Now, I'm gonna try and be as vague as I can about this, without spoiling anything, of course, because I don't want to be that guy. But number one, this movie is actually non-linear. I feel like I should at least warn you all about this, because F9 will have a tendency to cut back and forth between the present day and a plethora of flashbacks of a young Dom and Jacob on the racetrack together with their father, who is a professional racer. The way these flashbacks are spliced and edited into the final products came off so clunky to me. Like, there were points where I had to snap out of it and remind myself what part of the timeline we were on. It got really confusing after a while. And speaking of confusing... oh my god. Number two, they tried to cram so much into this one. I mean, you've got it all. You have the family drama, you have the big action stunts, you have the flashbacks, you have the cameos from Helen, Mirren, and Charlize Theron that have to get thrown in there. There's one sequence where, again, I'm trying really hard not to spoil this, but Roman and Tej go to a certain place during the climax. And once they go to this place, I really could not suspend my disbelief anymore. And I just couldn't help but roll my eyes once I saw this, because I knew from reading interviews that the producers and even Vin Diesel himself were talking about going to this particular place. And my first thought when I saw this was, holy shit, they're actually doing it. But then after a while, I was just sitting there and I could only think one thing. This is all just so... ludicrous. Okay, yeah, there. I said it. You happy? Are you happy with that dad joke? I hope you are. But because they tried to cram in so much to this movie, that makes for an extremely beefy runtime, especially for fast standards, clocking in around 2 hours and 20 minutes if I remember right. And that's a little long. I do remember checking my watch a few times throughout this. I was like, damn, this is still going? And yeah, long story short, the film does unfortunately overstay its welcome. I mean, it's a fast movie. It should never feel that way. I should just be having fun and just laughing at all the dumb stuff going on. And I should just want to watch cars get destroyed all over the place. I mean, think about why people started hating on Pirates of the Caribbean back in 2007. That was around the time At World's End came out. That movie's almost 3 hours long. And this is coming from someone that doesn't mind At World's End. But it was around that time where people were really starting to look at the Pirates movies and they were like, really? You had to put all this shit in there? The stories became way too complicated and they became way too convoluted for their own good. And I feel like the Fast movies are starting to fall down that rabbit hole, guys. I hate to say it. We just want fun movies out of this and we're just... And keep in mind, there's no Hobbs, there's no Deckard Shaw in this, so a lot of the fun is just kind of gone. I mean, God, aside from your typical Fastisms, which are fun to laugh at, and a really fiery performance from John Cena that made me really, really happy to see, I'm not gonna lie, I think you can skip out on Fast 9, unless you're like a real hardcore fan of the franchise. Like I said, this theater was packed when I saw it last night, and they all freaking loved it. I still don't quite understand. I'm gonna give Fast 9 a C-. So long story short, if you grew up with these movies ever since the first one came out in 2001, you'll probably have a lot of fun with F9. But if you're looking for the next great action epic that's on the level of like a Mad Max Fury Road or a Mission Impossible Fallout, this ain't it, guys. Clearly this ain't it. But of course, this is all just one guy's opinion. What do you guys think of F9? Did you like it more than I did? Did you hate it? What do you think was the most ridiculous thing about this movie? I'm really curious to see what you guys thought. So let's all continue this discussion down in the comments, shall we? Yeah, this should be a really fun comment section, shouldn't it? But if this is your first time visiting the channel today, thank you all so much for clicking on the video, and please consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. It's completely free, it won't cost you anything, and you can always change your mind later. And I'll tell you what, if you subscribe, you guys can be the first ones to know anytime a new upload hits the channel. And please be sure to hit that thumbs up button on your way out, that would be awesome. And look out for more exciting content hitting this channel very soon, guys. You all are the best, seriously. Again, thank you all so much. This was true catharsis for me. With all that being said, back talk, commence!